Hello everyone and welcome to another video of the Sky channel. Now we are in the jungle and I know some of the people aren't and they're probably curious to see how it looks like. So this video will give you a little bit of a glimpse of the jungle. But before we get started, I want to give a big thank you to Aptoide for sponsoring this video. You can get between 10 to 35% bonuses on in-game purchases if you download the game through Aptoide. If you're interested, hit me up on Discord or check out some of the links that I've shared in the description, letting you know how you can avail that bonus. Okay, you can see the jungle looks pretty nice. It's all green. And of course, instead of mountains, we have thorns, which is interesting. It gives it a little bit of a new vibe to it. And, you can see shields. They also have some leaves flying around them. Fairly interesting. Overall, some of the things are pretty similar. Like, you joined in. There was a tutorial. That annoying tutorial made me take a level 1 guardian colony, which I definitely didn't need. So I immediately called my unit back. As you can imagine, we are part of the red camp. So we actually have our initial area being one of the clash zones, which is pretty interesting. The wonder in our area is actually still level 9 and it does give a pretty nice bonus as you would expect from a level 9. But look at that durability. 233,000. That's almost the same as the tree was in Barren Land. We're fortunate we were able to take it. That was extremely costly on stamina though. And as you can see, some of the other areas are actually unoccupied because we got into a 2 versus 3 jungle. So while you would imagine that, the jungle is supposed to be 3 versus 8, that has not been the case. Most of the people are either 2 versus 3, or if the red camp is a little luckier, I guess 3 versus 4. So there are unoccupied initial areas, including a bunch of them here where you can possibly go in and get all those structures. There are also unoccupied areas in the land of clash, like here where we don't have a third ally, so this land of clash is also unoccupied. Interestingly enough, the tree doesn't have any protection and we could teleport right next to it. So yeah, as a red camp, you can teleport anywhere. There are no restrictions as long as it's in the land of clash or land of abundance, which is a tree zone. You can teleport freely. Of course, you can't teleport on somebody else's territory, but other than that, you do have the right to do so. Other than that, it only costs the red camp 4 stamina instead of 5 if you are to attack structures, build towers, or attack towers. So essentially meaning that you have approximately 25% extra stamina if you are using it only for these purposes. Similarly, you'll also notice that our healing pool gives us an additional 25% as opposed to the normal amounts. So if you remember, what we have here is roughly 25% more than what you had in Barren Land, and the blue camp has exactly the same as what they had in Barren Land. If you put this all together, in a way, it is almost as if your military capability is 25% better than the blue camp. In other words, if you have 40 people online and you're part of the red camp, it's not really 40, it's approximately 50, if that makes sense. Additionally, the red camp does have additional bonuses as well, so you have extra attack and defense that the blue camp doesn't have, especially when fighting in the land of clash. Now it is worth noting that the blue camp does have to go through one of the land of clashes before they can get to the tree, which means that if they are going to be coming towards the land of clash, they are technically fighting you in your initial area. This gives you certain additional buffs, which I believe amount to about 120% attack, 120% defense, and 60% health, giving you an additional edge in combat. Now, of course, these buffs are helpful, but on the other side, you have to note that you are going to be outnumbered by the enemy because it is a 2 versus 3 in our case. In certain cases, it is a 3 versus 4. But keep in mind that, of course, it's an interesting way to balance out the fact that you're outnumbered by giving you certain additional buffs and reducing the cost of stamina for war-related activities. For the gecko people, of course, the cost of stamina to join a gecko rally is still 20. So if you manage to finish your stamina hunting geckos, insects, or bits, you probably aren't going to be benefiting from the reduced stamina during war because you'll have no stamina to use anyway. So keep that in mind. If you are going to be hunting geckos or insects, the buffs aren't going to be as helpful. So the best use of the reduced stamina is only if you are saving that stamina to begin with. It is also worth noting that my assumption was that the red camp would have maybe 2 or 3 strong alliances and the blue camp would have, let's say, up to 8 weak alliances. That hasn't been the case. Both the red camp and blue camp have reasonably strong alliances in our jungle, which means that the real difference comes to the point that there are a larger number of blue alliances, but the buffs that the red camp has are larger and essentially to some extent may balance certain things out. So that is what I've learned in the first day of the vast jungle. If you like the video, please subscribe to our channel. We will have more content coming up, perhaps with certain tips and tricks that might help you as well. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.